So this is the session that I did in Iowa at the weekend with the Iowa Soccer Symposium. My topic was counter pressing, and I wanted to break it in two. First of all, looking at how to begin a session effectively, getting the most out of that, setting the team up for a good training session, and then second of all, then putting the team in an optimal shape tactically that can maximise opportunities to counter press. I wanted to look in two different areas as well. I wanted to look individually and then also the team. So in terms of individual counter pressing, I wanted to focus on the types of defensive behaviours we wanted in 1v1 defending or even 1v2 defending outnumbered, defending with risk in behind because we've stepped up the field. So in this example here, you can see the reaction immediately from Kristen Press when she loses the ball is to 1v4, works hard, gets it back, and then attacks the space. The opponents are a little disorganised. US get numbers forward and score on the rebound. And then I also then wanted to look at building the team structure and getting the team higher up the field in possession. So even though it's a counter-pressing session, what you do in possession of the ball is really important because it can compress areas. It can also get players closer together, which allows them to be more aggressive. And then if one player is beaten, that player will have cover higher up the field. And again, when they win the ball, they take advantage of a disorganised defence possibly. So for the warm-up, I didn't want to challenge or get into a discussion of opposed, unopposed, but I did want to challenge the idea of if you did want to do passing patterns, then could we not add something in there that there was a defensive transition, so it wasn't just pass, move, pass, move. There's exercises then, if you do like passing patterns, maybe you could do to create that defensive reaction. So this one here, the ball moves just around the diamond and the opposite player steps to press. A little bit of communication there as well. There's the focus. And then the key principles here we established: once the ball moves, the defender moves, so you get there quick. Once you get there, slow down on the approach so the player doesn't go past you. And then what is aggressive defending? We defined that by distances with the players. So distance was touch tight. And then once we went again, it got a lot quicker. The intensity rose. And it became more difficult. That then progressed into a different passing pattern that went to goal. So very simple, 3 parts. And the first player, as soon as they start the exercise, then becomes the defender. So there's a technical challenge in here. First of all, you want the players to move the ball, and then that player then becomes the defender. So just that simple principle of what you do in possession may quickly transition out of possession. Also, the type of defending. If you're going to defend aggressively up the field, you're going to have to be defending when maybe you weren't expected to win the ball. So we just changed it to a little overlap for the first one. So little things. Then we moved on to a little rondo exercise, and this one was simple. Just sent 3 players, 5 passes as a goal in the opposition. And this was just to get it competitive if you wanted to start a session with a team structure or rondo. Other team wins it and it changes over. The first progression was that if the team won the ball and scored, they would get 2 points. So an added incentive for more aggressive defending higher up the field. And it increased the level of intensity in the game. Also challenged the goalkeepers a little bit more. Then the second progression was we put in the mannequins, and now we added a transition. So now after you won the ball, instead of the coach triggering in the next pass, the player must turn and work it out in transition, which is a key part of counter pressing, how to play once you win the ball back. The third progression then became once the team got to 4 passes, they could score in the goal on their zone. So the goalkeeper had to transition and the defensive behaviours had to transition from trying to win the ball back to trying to block the shot. This is one of my favourites. And again, once they win it, can they transition in and play the other end? So the coach has less involvement. Improving the team structure, moving along to that. I think a common problem with possession teams is that they can build initially, and then after 4 or 5 passes, once pressure arrives, it goes a little longer. The front three are expected to counter press on their own, but the distances are too big between back to front, and then the opposition can play through, and then we judge that as poor counter pressing or unfit players when it's an organisational problem. So it's trying to get the centre backs further up the field to not only squeeze the lines and compress the space, but also to add a +1 in the possession and possibly add an overload in the midfield. So trying to get that defender higher. You can see on this occasion the defender doesn't go higher. They go a little further with the pass, and you can see there's no numbers around the ball to win the ball back. There's too many red shirts. So once the centre backs can get further up the field, what impact does that have on the midfield players? It can push them forward in distance. It can also make them a bit more aggressive. And then once possession is lost, the reaction of the players, again, those principles that we talked about before, aggressive defending, touch tight, who wanted to get that from the team, and then attack against a disorganised defence. So the exercise we set up was a game, a 2v1 with centre backs and a forward and the goalkeeper to start, and then all the other players, including the wide players who would have been fullbacks, higher up the field on the other half of the field. So encouraging the centre backs to step, and then once they get in, if the possession was lost, be aggressive and attack right away. One issue we had, the defenders were slightly reluctant to drive into the space. It became a little bit of a rondo, so we put a shot clock in to encourage them to get up the field higher. Then we also added 2 forwards, allowed the holder to drop in. The timing was a bit off and it became another possession rondo game, so we worked on the triggers for that player to step in so he wasn't standing waiting, and that trigger was once the 2 centre forwards split and the goalkeeper was facing forward, could the holder drop in, get half turned, push one of the defenders up, and again we've got numbers up the field where we're in a position that if we lose the ball we can be aggressive to win it back and hopefully take advantage of it. Review of the objectives individually was about the immediate response, those distances, and always be aggressive on the front foot after every mistake. And then for team-wise, it was to engage the pressure by the centre-back stepping, create a possible overload into midfield, and the same principle, but in a team concept, the aggressive reaction from the team, stepping forward when possession is lost, and being aggressive to win the ball back. If you're interested in reading more, I also have some information in my books, Pressing and Coaching Your 433. Books are available on Amazon and modernsoccercoach.com. Any questions, or if you wanted to get any feedback, please feel free to email Gary at modernsoccercoach.com. Thank you very much.